A school trip turned into the worst nightmare imaginable. In the middle of a dark, silent forest, a group of innocent children finds themselves face to face with a horrifying monster, something not of this world. With no adults to protect them and no way to call for help, their only option is to run or die. One by one they realize this creature isn't just hunting them, it's playing a terrifying game. But just when all hope seems lost, one brave kid decides to fight back. What follows is a heart-pounding battle for survival where fear, courage, and sacrifice collide. What would you do if your only way out was to face your worst nightmare? At the beginning of the story, we see a dark and eerie forest where a young boy is running, either terrified or perhaps trying to escape from someone or something. As this suspense builds, the scene transitions to a red bus traveling through the same forest, following a road toward its destination. A little farther ahead, a fallen tree blocks the bus's path, forcing the driver to take a different route, completely unaware that danger might be waiting ahead. As they move forward, the surroundings become more unsettling and the travelers begin to notice human skeletons lying by the side. Soon all the trees seem to have been cleared out and suddenly a thick mist begins to engulf the bus, creating a chilling atmosphere. The children on board begin to look out the windows in fear as the bus comes to an abrupt halt. The driver steps outside and finds a dead deer lying in front of the vehicle, which he quickly removes. However, as he turns back, he's shocked to find a stranger boarding the bus, holding the driver at gunpoint. The mysterious man threatens the children, instructing everyone to stay seated and silent. The frightened children obey, though one of them suddenly recalls seeing this man's face on the news. He was a serial killer who had recently escaped from prison, and the scariest part was that he only targeted teenagers. Under his command, everyone throws their phones out of the window and the driver continues driving, missing a signboard that warned of an abandoned military zone up ahead, an area that was once used for experiments but is now completely deserted. As they enter a tunnel with dim flickering lights, the bus suddenly breaks down. While everyone wonders what happened, the killer suspects the driver is tricking him. Enraged, he grabs a young girl at gunpoint and demands the driver step out and fix the engine, warning that any clever move will cost the girl her life. Just then the tunnel lights go out, plunging everything into darkness. Disturbing, monstrous sounds echo through the tunnel, increasing everyone's panic. The killer signals the driver to check it out. The driver, with a trembling hand, picks up a flashlight and walks slowly into the shadows. As he moves forward, he notices a dark figure, which upon closer inspection turns out to be a horrifying monster. The driver screams in terror, but before he can run, the monster grabs and brutally kills him. Inside the bus, everyone watches in horror. Even the killer, now visibly shaken, rushes back inside with the girl. The children scream in panic, but he urges them to stay silent so the monster doesn't see or hear them. Desperately, the killer tries to start the bus, only to realize that the keys are missing. They were with the driver, who's now dead. With no other option, he sends one of the girls outside to retrieve the keys. Trembling with fear, she approaches the driver's body and is shocked to see him lifeless. She stands frozen, unable to believe he's gone, and tears well up in her eyes. But there's no time to grieve. Mustering courage, she grabs the keys and prepares to return. The girl returns to the bus, visibly shaken and emotionally disturbed. When the other children asked her about the driver, she simply shook her head in denial, because deep inside they all knew he was no longer alive. The children grew silent, grief-stricken by the loss. Meanwhile, the killer ordered a boy named Reggie to start the bus, but it was still broken. How could he possibly get it running? The killer threatened that if the bus didn't start, he would kill every single one of them. But instead of trembling, Reggie stood up to him and began to argue fearlessly. Sensing an opportunity, another boy shoved the killer from behind, and as he stumbled, Reggie quickly snatched the gun from his hand and pointed it right back at him. Yet instead of being scared, the killer laughed and mocked him, saying, "You can't kill me. It takes real courage to pull the trigger on something you obviously don't have." Before Reggie could react, Strange noises from outside the bus began to grow louder, distracting everyone. Taking advantage of the moment, the killer regained control of the gun. Now the eerie sounds were not only louder but seemed to be coming from the top of the bus, sending waves of fear through the children. Furious, the killer stormed out of the bus, yelling into the darkness, challenging whatever was out there to come and face him. But in the middle of his loud threats, he suddenly went silent. His expression froze into a twisted, horrifying smile before something lunged at him and decapitated him in an instant. Inside the bus, the children were stunned beyond words as they saw the monstrous creature holding the killer's severed head in one of its grotesque, tentacled hands. No one could grasp what was happening. The fear was paralyzing. Unsure of what to do, they decided their only option was to stay inside the bus for now. But their hope crumbled when they heard a cracking, bone-chilling noise and saw the doors slowly creak open. A giant hand with clawed fingers reached inside from the top of the bus. It was the creature, and it was coming in. Panicked, the children rushed toward the rear exit only to find it jammed shut. One of them accidentally pointed their flashlight toward the monster, and that's when they noticed something strange. It recoiled from the light. Realizing this could be their only defense, they used the flashlight beams to push the creature back long enough for the door to finally open. They all bolted out, keeping the light pointed at the monster, and ran until they stumbled upon an old underground bunker. Inside the bunker, they found a room with a giant map of the entire area. That's when it hit them. They were inside a long-abandoned military base. If this was truly a base, there had to be working lights and perhaps a control panel to turn the power back on. They decided that their only chance of surviving the monster was to activate the lights across the base. Using the map, they created a plan and tried to figure out where the control room might be. Nolan and a few of the kids volunteered to search for the power system, while 3 others stayed behind in the room trying to keep calm in bizarre ways. Eventually, one of the girls whispered that she needed to go to the bathroom but was too scared to go alone. Reggie offered to accompany her. As they walked together, Reggie kept teasing her with harmless jokes to lighten the mood, but the girl, quickly, was too tense to respond. After a while, Reggie turned around to talk to her again, but to his horror, Qui was no longer there. Reggie was left in utter shock, his heart pounding and eyes wide as he began screaming Qui's name and frantically searching for her in every direction. His panic alerted the other friend, who quickly realized Qui had gone missing too. Without wasting a moment, they split up and began searching different sections of the area, desperately hoping to find her. Eventually, they stumbled upon a horrifying sight. Qui was there, but pinned down by a terrifying monster, one that was just about to devour her. Her face turned pale with terror, completely frozen in fear as she locked eyes with the creature above her. Acting fast, Reggie used his torch to distract the monster with light, while the other boy managed to pull Qui away just in time. The two of them ran as fast as they could, hearts racing, not even turning back to check if Reggie was following them. Unbeknownst to them, Reggie had accidentally dropped the torch. It had fallen into a puddle and gone out. Now in the dark, defenseless, Reggie faced the creature alone. Just as the monster was about to strike, strange, slimy tendrils from its mouth splashed something onto Reggie's face. Something warm, sticky, and unmistakably blood. When Qui and her friend returned and saw Reggie lying there, their blood ran cold. They were frozen in place, unable to act. But before the monster could finish him off, the entire area suddenly lit up. The lights came back on. The creature hissed in fear and immediately fled, retreating into the shadows, and that's when they realized their friends had found the power station and managed to turn the lights back on. Nolan and his team, in fact, had discovered a nearby control room where they also found a decaying corpse and numerous photos and notes. All the research appeared to be centered around the creature itself, as if someone had spent years studying it, desperately trying to find a way to kill it but failing. But right now, survival was more important than solving any mystery. As they moved forward, the team spotted a strange shadow in the distance and froze, holding their breath. Could it be the monster again? They crept closer and let out a huge sigh of relief when they saw it was their 3 friends. The group was finally reunited, but the relief didn't last. That's when they noticed a terrible wound on Qui's neck, deep, fresh and bleeding. A cold silence fell over them as the realization dawned. Qui had been infected. Whispers broke out among them. Some argued they shouldn't keep her with them anymore. But no one had the heart to abandon her. Wanting to understand what might happen to her, they rushed back to the room where the earlier notes were found. Among the scattered documents they found an old notebook and began to read. It told the story of a boy who loved exploring new things with his sister. One day their adventures led them to this very military base. The boy who had written the journal stayed back to study the map while his sister moved ahead, curious and eager. Suddenly she stopped, frozen in horror at something she saw deep inside the tunnel. The boy looked up, but it was too late. Her screams echoed through the darkness and fear overtook him. Instead of helping her, he turned and ran, disappearing into the forest, consumed by terror. And this was the very scene we witnessed at the beginning of the movie. Though he escaped physically, the trauma of that moment never left his mind. Even though he had escaped that night, the guilt never left him, the painful truth that his own cowardice had cost his sister's life. That single moment haunted him for years. He dedicated his life to researching the creature that had taken her from him, gathering every bit of information, every weakness, every behavior. Eventually, he even built a machine specifically designed to destroy the monster. But before he could complete his mission, the creature discovered his location and killed him. The group, reading through his detailed notes, finally understood the terrifying truth. Once the creature attacks or tastes someone's blood, it doesn't stop until it kills them. And now Qui was in danger, serious danger. But instead of abandoning her, her friends made a bold decision. They would finish what that man had started. They would fix the machine, trap the monster, and kill it once and for all. Qui, however, resisted. She didn't want anyone to risk their lives for her. But her friends stood firm. They were in this together, and together they would survive. Reunited in their courage, they embraced and got to work on the plan. Soon they recovered the machine and managed to get it working. Excited but aware that the real challenge still lay ahead, they set a trap using Qui's blood-soaked clothes as bait. She herself stood nearby, acting as a lure, hoping to draw the creature into position. And the plan almost worked. The creature appeared, sniffed the bloody clothes, but realized something was off. It wasn't Qui. At that moment, Nolan was supposed to trigger the machine, but fate had other plans. The trigger jammed. The monster, enraged, began moving toward Qui. Just as it was about to strike, her friends finally managed to activate the machine, flooding the area with bright light. The monster shrieked and pulled back, allowing Qui and her friend to escape the tunnel. One of the boys ran forward and stabbed the monster in the gut, but it barely flinched. Realizing the danger, the rest grabbed torches and fled, the monster chasing them close behind. The 2 girls had already escaped outside and finally breathed a sigh of relief, until they turned and saw the monster still inside, just at the edge of the light. It wouldn't come out. It feared the brightness. Then from behind, the 3 boys rushed in, lit the monster on fire, and ran out just in time. The creature howled, engulfed in flames, and finally died. Their plan had worked. Not only had they saved themselves, but they had eliminated a threat that could have killed countless others. In the film's final moments, the kids remember the driver, the kind man who once asked them a riddle: "What is the one thing that always gets us out of trouble?" Back then they didn't know the answer. But now they understood it clearly. The answer was courage, the one thing that had brought them through the darkest of times. And with that powerful lesson, their story comes to an end.